Welcome, Momentum Tribe. Spencer Coates here. All right. So I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I got a big list, and if this takes me an hour, so be it. It might actually take less time, but I doubt it. And if it takes more than an hour, I may have to stop and do another video later on to finish all of these. But this is going to be loaded with information that's going to help you if you're struggling with any one of the 18 answers I got to the question. If you were going to double your results, that's in your business, that's in your life, whatever the situation may be, you're going to double your results. What is in fact going to be the biggest challenge? What's going to be the frustration? Or maybe what's the fear that's going to keep you from getting there? And then let's see if we can kind of jump into that and help you in any way possible. So while I'm sure there'll be some that jump in here, I don't have time to kind of wait for them, so I'm just going to go ahead and get in this. You are more than welcome to share your thoughts, drop in questions, conversations, whatever. Let's make this as interactive as possible. And of course, feel free to share everywhere and anywhere possible. So I've got a list of 18 answers there, and now I'm keeping them anonymous. And quite frankly, I wrote down the answers in one place, and then I wrote down their names in a different place so that I could make sure that, one, I sent them all something special as a gift to thank them for giving me their response. At the same time, I don't really want to call anybody out because, let's be honest, if we talked about the elephant in the room, it would probably make us feel embarrassed because we don't like talking about the things that might actually help us move forward. We like to hold on to we like to look good. We like to be right. Those are functions of the ego. And we really don't like to make change because interrupting the status quo can become a little nerve-wracking, right? So we don't like to talk about the elephant in the room. So I'm not going to call those people out that gave me the answers. I'm just going to share with you what those answers were. So let me just run down the list, and then I'm going to start from the top, work my way down. And if you have any suggestions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in. Okay, so let's see. Accountability, focus was a challenge. Getting more from team members, right, or employees. Another one was consistency. That's a challenge for some people. Letting go, which is delegation, or letting things go. Somebody responded with that because they constantly want to hold on to stuff, right? We're going to cover that. We're going to talk about beliefs before results. Is that even an option? Faith to follow through. Those two kind of go hand in hand. Also got the response, handling rejection. How do you do that? What do you do? No compelling future. Now, that's actually my verbiage on that, but basically someone had responded back and said, I really don't have anything bigger or anything to move towards it. Why would I go for double the numbers, right? Let's see, another one would be generating business through prospecting. It's a very common conversation for business owners. Setting boundaries, online presence, lead generation, lack of follow through, or even getting started. And then difficult conversations, how to do that. And believing in myself. As you can see, there's some themes, some general themes that go through this. And then let's see, the last two were being able to manage success, stress, time, and the process to attract more clients. That's a big one. So that one's going to be in this group. And then we're also going to talk about making the move to full-time business. This is someone who has a job and wants to actually jump into the business or a business for themselves. And specifically, this person was referencing a real estate career. All right, so let's jump into this. Y'all good? Can I get a like or something? Let me know some people are out there listening. All right, let's move. Accountability. That is such a common conversation for people. I'll ask the question all the time. What do you think's stopping you? And almost always people say, myself. And I think we all intuitively know that it's myself. The truth is, though, what do you mean by that? And what is accountability anyway? I think most people consider accountability as a conversation of, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do from last time? And they say no. And then I'm supposed to whip out a wet noodle, or someone is, and beat you over the head with it. to make you feel bad about yourself so that you'll go back and actually do what you said you were going to do. I don't really think that that's really what accountability is. Accountability, in our definition and the way we use it at the Qualified Champions Mastermind and everything that we do, we actually break it down. There's a whole module on accountability, and we talk about the ability to account. So the ability to account. And I think people like to have other people hold them accountable, meaning they want someone else to review what they've done. But if you're not accounting for what you have, which if you understand the Qualified Champions Blueprint, the bottom, the foundation phase is accountability and resources. If you're not accountable for your resources, you're going to have a hard time. So what resources are we referring to? Well, we talk about the big three. There's a bunch of them. There's a lot of resources we have available, but the three we like to talk about is time, money, and people. So how are you holding your time accountable? Are you able to account for your time? Meaning, do you have a calendar? Do you know what's going on with your time? Money, same thing. Are you able to account for your money? Right? So that's accountability in our perspective. So if you're looking to up the game on accountability because you think that's what's going to make the difference, I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself, what is it that you're, how are you accounting for the resources in your life? If you don't have that foundation piece, you're going to have a real hard time building from there. So that's very fundamental. The second one, the next answer that somebody gave me was focus. Okay, this is a huge conversation. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to create focus. Before I do that, matter of fact, hold on one second. See if I find it off the top of my head. It should be right here. I don't see it right off, but there it is. Hold on. This book. This is a business book you'll find at the airport all over the place. One of the writers of this book is Gary Keller, and I heard Gary Keller one time say, in reference to he was actually talking about this book, referencing focus. He said, focus for most people is a concept and not an action. When I first heard that, I thought to myself, that's so true, because we all think that it's some sort of it's a principle, some sort of a enigmatic thing that we either have or we don't have. Like focus just happens to you. Truth is that it's a verb. It's something we have to work on. It's a habit. Well, if that's true, that means that just like every other muscle or every other thing we learn, we have to practice. So the question is going to be, how do you create focus? How do you practice focus? Well, let me give you a little exercise we talk about in our core process, which if you go to qualifiedchampion.com and get that 7 essentials, we talk about that in our core process, this particular subject. Find something in the room. Just find something around you, anything. It doesn't matter. I could look at this pen, okay? I could set this pen right here and focus on the pen for 5 minutes. Do this for 5 minutes a day for the next 10 days and watch how you have to train your brain. If you focus on anything in the room, that one thing, focus on it. 5 minutes, set a timer. What you'll find is that your mind is going to automatically start deviating. Number one, it's going to push back. Why bother? What are you doing? What's going on here? And it's going to ask all these questions. Nothing, just it's a pen. It's blue. I use it for things. Start concentrating on just the one thing. It could be a candle, whatever. Focus on that one item. Notice how your mind wants to wander on its own. And when it does wander, don't beat yourself up. Just bring it back. The trick to practicing focus is that the more you do bringing it back, you're training your mind not to go away from whatever it is you're focused on in the moment. Now, one of the most powerful ways to do this is practicing some level of meditation. But this is just a simple exercise of taking something like this and going for 5 minutes focused on one thing and then keeping your mind's eye focused on that one thing. The minute it goes away, come back over here. Because your mind is going to want to jump from the past to the future, right? Even if it's referencing that one thing, you could start talking about, oh, I remember that one pen I used to have. That's not this pen. That's not the one that's in front of me. That's not the one I'm focused on. And you keep working on practicing the focus on that one thing. Start seeing if you can get yourself to notice when you're deviating or wandering in less, a couple seconds. 2 seconds, oh, let me bring it back. If you get away from it for 2-3 minutes and you start thinking about other stuff, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just bring it back to center. All right? Focus is an exercise. So practice. Find ways to help get focused on one thing at a time. And the more you do it, the better off your mind will start learning how to do it in other areas of your life. There's a lot of tools and tricks and systems. Matter of fact, there's one book that I just told you about. This one, the one thing actually will talks in great length on how to help maintain or create that kind of focus. Number 3, getting more from team members. This has got to be one of the most common questions I get. You got a team? You got people that work with you? Maybe you got a family member? I think most of the time we focus on how do we get them motivated? How do we motivate someone to do more? Well, when you look at the qualified champion stuff, and you have to understand the different mindset and mechanics, I think our consensus, or the majority of people, focus on one of 2 patterns. We either want to help people that are fairly productive become more positive so that they have a better mindset and then they create more results. Or maybe we've got really, really optimistic and positive people, we've got a great culture, but we're just not getting any production. And so we focus on getting production. Well, you're probably going to struggle if you focus on only one of those 2 things. The key is to get both of them together, which then creates purpose. Well, how do you do that? Well, those 4 phases I talked to you about in Qualified Champion, which you can go to qualifiedchampion.com and get more info there. We take those phases and move people forward. So there are 4 fundamental pieces of mindset and 4 fundamental pieces of mechanics. Mindset, mechanics, and movement. Man, all these words, oh, Spencer, you're killing me, man. Well, I'm unleashing everything that I do on purpose. I want everybody to get this information. This is powerful stuff here. If you want to see your team or your business, the people around you, your employees, do more, you're going to have to start paying attention to whether or not you're looking to increase, because if I'll give you let me do it this way. If your team is consistently positive and they're always in a state of frustration, break it down into processes. Start talking about the small pieces. That's resources. What do they have in front of them? Do they know how to operate them at a high level? Number 2, what is what's the outcomes? What's the specific standards that we want them to hit? Minimum standards, not suggestions, standards. 3, what's the rituals or the breakdown or the process to make that happen? That's the 3rd piece. Okay, so we're talking about getting more results from our team members. If they're all frustrated because they're all positive, they got the right mindset, but they're not getting results, we're talking about mechanics. So resources, outcomes, what is it they're really after, or the standards. And then the 3rd piece is going to be the rituals or the routines, right? The habits, the processes. Some people call them systems. And then the last one is optimization, or how do we improve our process? But it's a progression. So if you understand those pieces in the mechanics, you can absolutely radically shift everything in a team. Now, flip side. Remember, we talked about being positive or being productive. We really want to be powerful or purposeful. So let's say maybe you have a team that's really productive. They're hitting a glass ceiling and they're consistently feeling like they're in a rut. We're just not really getting to go beyond where they want to be. Well, then we got to focus on mindset. And there's 4 pieces to mindset. So at the bottom is accountability. That team member has to understand they own it. 2, they have to have the appropriate focus. Focus on what they're headed towards, not what they're moving away from. There's a whole bunch to that in Qualified Champion. The 3rd piece of mindset is beliefs, right? They have to believe in the system. So beliefs is the 3rd piece. And the last one's flexibility. They got to be able to bend. I know there's a lot of information, but trust me, this is stuff that will help move businesses forward. And you can figure out which quadrant somebody's in. You can help move them in the right direction using those 8 functions of mindset and mechanics, which will then therefore create the movement. You can't just have the mindset and you can't just have the mechanics. You got to have movement. You got to take action. So getting more from your team members really has to do with understanding where they're at. Does that make sense? Thinking in my head if there's a story maybe. There's so many. I've got one right now. I've got an Allstate insurance agency. Matter of fact, that's this pen we were talking about. I have an Allstate agency that was producing, but they weren't producing as much as they should. And so they knew this, and we had to adjust the process. And the minute we got into the mechanics of what needed to be done, and a lot of times it's very simple stuff. They had the best December they've ever had just last month, and things are progressing. I love it. Love working with them. They have done phenomenal changes over the last 6 months as I've been working with them. So, all right, let's see, the next one's consistency. How do we create consistency? Truth is, consistency has to do with a lot of things, but and I think a consistency means a lot of different things to a lot of people. I'll be honest. I think the issue with consistency, this is just an opinion. Entrepreneurial-minded people have a struggle between freedom and discipline. I call it the freedom-discipline paradox. I have seen that for decades now, because people would get into, I came out of the real estate industry. There was a lot of real estate business, and people would get into the real estate business. They would get into it for one of 2 major reasons. And if you're a business owner, you probably did the same thing. I want to have an uncapped ceiling for income. And 2, I want to have freedom with my schedule. Right? Because maybe they have a family, they want to make sure that they're there for their kids, and having a 9-to-5 job just really consumed them too much, so they wanted to get into this business. Well, the thing is, as soon as they got into the business, they realized that to have a business, you actually have to have some discipline. It's got to be structured. You got to treat it like a job, or it's probably not going to go as far as you want it to go. So what happens is you'll start driving around. You're trying to schedule yourself and be consistent, have a very structured business. And then the next thing you know, the back of your mind, the unconscious part of you kicks in and goes, why don't you just stop over here and go to Starbucks? Why not? Right? Go to that store. Why not? It's okay. I mean, isn't that what you got in this business for? You didn't sign up for all this structure. You signed up to have a life that you wanted to have, a life of freedom. And the next thing you know, you're off of your game, your schedule's off, and you're not doing things. You're reacting versus being proactive. And I think that's a really underlying core problem. It's the elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about discipline. But at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, the freedom discipline paradox is in fact a problem. It is a problem. So, you got somebody calling me here. I'm going to tell them, sorry, got to go. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Let me pause that. All right. Let's get back on track. You guys with me? Want to make me got any thoughts? Maybe give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're still there. I'm going to keep going because I got a lot more to cover, and it's only been 22 minutes. I want to get as much as I can. So the consistency challenge a lot of times really comes down at a bottom line issue. It's the elephant in the room about the freedom discipline paradox. Consistency also is an issue because most people don't have a system for keeping up with time. And by that, I mean the big picture, the moment. Right? So we plan like an adult, we believe like a child. I heard that from Jim Rohn one time. But we also have to plan the big picture, and we have to operate in the moment. How do you do that? Well, we have a system for that. We actually talk about that in the Qualified Champion. We call that our RAP sheet, RAP process. It's weekly results and planning. right? So you have to spend time consistently reviewing where you're at, where you're headed, well, where you've been, where you're headed, and what you need to be doing. It's a rhythm. If you don't have that rhythm, you're going to constantly be reacting, which then creates inconsistency. All right, keep on moving. Letting go. Anybody else got issues with letting go? By letting go, we're talking about delegation. We're talking about leverage. We're talking about letting other people do things we got to do. I've got a guy right now. He literally stuffs envelopes, and his business probably makes a little over $500,000 a year. Do you think that's the best use of someone's time? Of course, I asked the question, why don't you just pay someone, a couple bucks an hour to come in here and handle that for you? Well, there's a lot of details and a lot of small stuff. I think sometimes we give ourselves a little too much credit, and we are discrediting what other people can do. So if we're looking to let go and delegate, you're going to have a reason to bother, meaning you're going to have something bigger you should be doing and understand that switch cost. And by switch cost, we're referring to, for everything I say yes to, I'm saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to this particular task that you know deep down you should be letting go of, you're saying no to something else, and it's probably something that's going to get you closer to where you want to be. So you have to let it go. There's a couple of ways of doing that. Obviously, we could do a better job of training and managing the standards and holding people to those standards. I think most of the time we let down the standards because we're not holding our own standards. So if you really want to see things step up, we're going to have to step up our own selves. That's number one. But delegating and giving away, or giving leverage away, is actually an opportunity for you to step up in a whole other direction. One of the reasons why we do most of our coaching is so customized is because I have to spend a little bit of time to figure out, why would somebody bother doing that? Because in some cases, I actually tell people there's no reason to go hire people. There's no reason to delegate, leverage, or hand things off for you, because you have no particular value or benefit in doing it. So you have to really get down deep into some of the stuff with people. Letting go is a challenge only if you think you are a superior human being and that no one else is physically capable of doing what you do. I hope by me saying it that way might have bothered you a little bit, because if you need to let something go, then you need to set the standards and then hold those people, to the standard. All right, beliefs before results. Beliefs before results. What are we referring to here? Well, I would love to double my results. I'd love to see more business, or I'd love to have everything changed in my life, but I just don't see how that can be possible. How do you answer that question? Well, the truth is that it's one of those things where you say, basically what they're saying is, I'll believe it when I see it. And it's very normal for us to hold on to reality that way, because that's how generally we're wired, right? The truth is, you're not going to probably see it unless you believe it. So think about this for just a moment. Your mind does not know the difference between actual physical reality and what you vividly imagine. And to further that proof, think about this. Virtual reality headsets nowadays, right? You can put these things on your head and then headphones in your ears, and you're basically tricking your senses, except for your touch, right? Your physical body can see or not see, but feel that you're not going anywhere. But the goggles and the headphones give you the sensation and trick every piece of your mind that you are on a tightrope. You just jumped off a cliff. You're bungee jumping, and you'll feel like you're going to fall, and your body has a physiological response to something that's not actually happening. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So if that's the case, if you're looking to create belief, that again is a process. You can actually create it by giving yourself that experience of future self, that experience of a compelling future, the way you think it should be, the way you know it could be, and that you're capable of. You program yourself to see it and act accordingly. There's a lot of science actually that'll help you understand that your mind will start filtering information accordingly, meaning things that get you closer to goals, it starts bringing it into your life, even though it's always been there. This is the science part of the whole what's that? Can't even think of it off the top of my head. Law of attraction, right? So there was a book that came out not long ago, 10 years ago, probably at this point or more, called the Secret. And they made it very mystical feeling and sounding. It was like you send out energy and it comes back to you. Like I could just send out the energy and there'd be, money just fall out of the sky and hit me in the head. Truth is that when you program your mind for the successful things that you're looking for and wanting, and you stay focused on it heavily, so heavily that it's real, your brain starts looking for those things. And when it looks and finds it, it actually brings it to your awareness. See, there's stuff going on all around you. Most people refer to it as a reticular activating system. So think about this for a second. If you didn't have this filtering mechanism in your head, you'd remember every license plate you saw on your way to work. But you don't remember them. The only ones you actually ever notice, your brain's scanning every single one. The only ones you ever notice are the ones that are either personalized or out of state. They're unusual. They're unique. Or there's a sticker on the back of the car that resonates with you in some way, shape, or form. So if you're a politically charged personality and there's a bumper sticker on somebody's car that either is either for your candidate or somebody else's, you're going to notice those before somebody else does. If you're a real estate agent, you're driving down the road and there's a for sale by owner sign or a for sale sign of any kind on a house, you notice it when the rest of the family is like, what? Whatever. That's just what's going to happen. When I started working with all these insurance agencies and helping them build their businesses, I suddenly realized, holy cow, these agencies are everywhere. Yeah, that's how your mind works. So coming back to this beliefs before results, that's going to happen when you develop the muscle for creating an awareness, and your mind will begin to create more and more references for belief. Beliefs are nothing more than a substantial sense of certainty for a statement. And you can create that through references. So actual experiences or ones that you create in your own mind. All right, moving on. Y'all still with me? All right. Faith to follow through. I think that's basically what I was just referring to. So I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just going to let that sit right there. All right. Next one. Handling rejection. So what's up with handling rejection? I think there's a specific amount of conversation where people need to recognize their value and hold on to it. So if they're going to handle rejection, it has to do with meaning. So one of the things we talk about, if you go to qualifiedchampion.com and download the 7 essentials, the very first topic is on control. And there's only 3 things you can control. One of those 3 things is meaning. We call it framing sometimes. Basically what things mean. So if you get rejected along the way for anything, what does it mean? You get to control that meaning. You can't control the other person. You cannot, these are all things that we talk about in the core process. You can't control other people. You can't control time, and you cannot control or manipulate natural principles. Some of the greatest sources of pain happen when we focus on those 3 things and look to change, manipulate, or control time, people, or natural principles. So if you wanted to get a better grip on rejection, you're going to have to get better at understanding or changing what it means to you. If you get rejected and they say, no, I don't want your stuff, if you automatically it means that I'm not good, I'm never going to be good, you make statements like that, you're right. That meaning is very disempowering and you're not going to get very far. Make sense? Woo! All right, moving on. No compelling future is the next one. I think I've already touched on some of that, but not having a really strong future is a really good way to let laziness and or comfort just settle in. The comfort zone is going to be your reality. So if your reality is not what you want it to be, it's probably because you've made it your reality because that's what you're comfortable with. So, hold on, Spencer. I don't like what's going on with my life. You telling me I'm comfortable with it? I'm saying that it's probably more comfortable, or you don't have a juicy enough reason to make it better. So if you're looking to create a reason to change anything in your life, one of the best ways, the fastest ways I've always worked with people on is creating a much more compelling future. One that when you wake up in the morning or in the middle of the day when you start getting tired and you're really thinking about moving along or doing something different and you're going to get off track and become inconsistent, it's going to be the compelling future you create. That's by compelling, by the way, it's you can touch it almost, right? It's in your mind. You can emotionally feel it, see it, hear it. The more you can build and stack that level of emotion around it, the more energizing it becomes. And there's ways to create that. Not having a compelling future is absolutely a killer. Absolutely a killer if you don't have it. Let's see here. Compelling future. Next one. Generating business through prospecting. This is always a struggle for most people that want to build a business. Because I think most people just assume that, I'll give you a really good example. It's a personal example. So my wife wanted to make some side money, and so she put out an ad on social media to clean houses and didn't get any responses at all. It's very common. But for the person that's not used to doing any kind of sales or any kind of marketing, they don't understand because everybody knows how much of a clean freak my wife is. She actually likes cleaning stuff. She enjoys doing that. But nobody's really ever seen her as a person that would have a business that goes to go clean houses. Well, if you're going to prospect to get more business, if you're going to generate business through prospecting, it means you're going to have some level of repetition in someone's mind and brand yourself. Prospecting is different than marketing. So when somebody gave me that response, that means they like the marketing, but they understand that if they're going to actually double their results, they're going to have to prospect. So what does that mean? That means they're actually proactively go digging for it. Think about the old gold miner, right? They were called prospectors, right? If you're going to go prospecting, you're going to have to go gold digging by digging. And sometimes it takes you just a few hits, and sometimes it takes you a long time. It's taken me forever to get this up off the ground, and don't think I'll stop because there's value here. There's gold here. You guys need this stuff, and I love delivering it. Prospecting, digging for it. If you think if that's what's stopping you, then the question is going to be maybe you don't know how to do it or you don't know where to do it, kind of thing. And if that's the case, I can help you with that too. We actually cover that in the Qualified Business Champion. All right, setting boundaries. That's a relational statement. Frankly, if you're not secure in yourself, you're going to have a hard time with boundaries. We'll let that settle for just a minute. If you don't understand your personal space, you won't know how to set expectations with others around you because you don't have any expectations for others around you. Your life depends on everyone else. One of the things that I remember very specifically, and I know I've got it over here somewhere. I'll show you. This is an old book, okay? It's funny for me to say it's an old book because it's really, in my mind, it's not that old, but for a lot of the young people, this is old because I imagine this one came out in, I have one of the older versions. Let me see when this one was printed. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This was printed in 89. This is legit 31 years old. This is a 31-year-old book, and in this book, he talks about levels of relationships, or how we relate with other people. So you've got dependent, independent, and then interdependent. Think about this from a standpoint of like a child, okay? When we grow up, we have to first learn to be dependent. We have to learn how to take instruction. We have to learn how to listen. Then we have to go learn how to be independent. So that's why birds get kicked out of the nest. You have to be able to fly. You have to be on your own. And you have to be secure enough in yourself to be independent. But then after that, then you get into interdependence. And that's the highest form of relationship. That's when 2 independent people work together to create one direction. So that could be a synergistic relationship in business. It could be even as far as relationships. Think about this. Think about how many relationships nowadays, because people are really struggling with this problem, they never really learned how to be independent. They went from being dependent with parents, and they just jumped straight into, they're attempting to have an interdependent relationship, but they've never been independent. They've never been on their own and be able to say, I'm on my own. They create a lot of challenges because they don't know how to be interdependent. And so guess what gets created? Another word that I haven't used in here yet. Codependency. Because now we have 2 people dependent on each other to be able to survive. And they're no longer interdependent. They actually never were interdependent. The highest and best form of relationships are interdependent people who originally were independent. And independent people don't generally become independent until they first learn how to be dependent. We all know that one guy or that one girl that comes into a job and they want to do it all on their own, but they don't know how to listen first. Yeah, I've dealt with that, dealing with that now. We all see that. So learn to follow, then lead, right? And then you can actually work synergistically with someone else. So when it comes to setting boundaries, it really comes down to understanding relationships and being on your own. Before you can set expectations with other people, you're going to have to first set expectations for yourself. Online presence, that's a hard shift in conversation here, isn't it? Okay. Online presence. I would have to question this person when they wrote that back to me. What did they think that online presence was going to do for them? If it's a marketing conversation, we can get there. But the truth is that the marketing landscape has changed so much and how things are done online that it has changed tremendously. So if it's going to be, if somebody's going to have an online presence, I'm going to have to dig a little bit further to understand what they mean by that. They think that doubling their business or doubling their results is going to come from having an online presence. I would probably challenge that because the online presence is defined so differently from different terms. I will give you this though. I'll say this for you. Nowadays, the old school website is not the thing to do. The thing to do nowadays in the direction that most things are going is to go towards, excuse me, is a content-driven platform. What do you think this is, by the way? I'm literally like unveiling a bunch of stuff. I'm giving it all to you. And then I know for a fact that at some point you're going to go to Qualified Champion. You're going to go download the 32-page book that I have created just for you. And then when you do that, by the way, it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to apply for the mastermind? Because I've got one coming that's extraordinarily powerful, right? That's the online presence world these days. Constant content helping you guys and helping the people that are in my group. The Momentum Tribe sent me these 18 things. I'm looking to help you guys specifically. That's what I'm doing. That's the online presence of today. Maybe you're thinking, well, I'm in real estate. How do I do that in the real estate world? Well, you can't do it the old school way, just thinking you can just put stuff up there and I have a house for sale. That will get you some business. But the new online presence world is going to be videos in front of houses, talking about these houses, how the process works, giving a crap ton of content. There's a lot of really good people that can help you with that kind of stuff. Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels is one. Gary V does a tremendous amount. Gary Vaynerchuk, if you're familiar with him. By the way, if you don't like foul language, Gary is going to be a little bit, he'll offend you if that's your problem. But anyway, there's quite a few people out there that are helping people do this very thing. Ton of them. Actually, if you're interested, message me. I'll point you in the right direction. But online presence, I'll be curious as to what it is specifically they're looking to get. Cool. I'm at 40 minutes, and I have several more to go. So let me keep going. I'm good. If you guys are good, I'm good. Keep giving me the likes. Let me know that you're there. I love it. All right. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I don't know what this means. Okay. I'm still here. So we're good. All right. Lead generation. That was another answer. I think the prospecting and the online presence and the lead generation conversations all go hand in hand. When it comes to generating leads, I will tell you this. Couple of things. If you're going to go with two things you got to have: consistency and content. People say, well, I'm going to send out this newsletter. I'm going to send out this postcard, right? They do one shot deal, or they do one ad on Facebook, and then they think they've got it. I'm going to tell you something. It's got to be consistent, and it's got to be content that'll grab you. But if you're looking to actually generate leads, you need to be going where they're fishing. So let's say you want to start a business. I don't know, give me a business. Maybe you want to start building cups. You want to create cups and sell them. Who's buying cups? Right? These kind of cups? Well, obviously coffee and tea drinkers. That would be the first place I would go to. Right? So where are those people hanging out? Figure out where they're at. Then give them content that they want. Get them to talk to you. And then you can move it from there. That's a lead. Okay? Somebody who's looking to buy a cup. I have a daughter, by the way. One of my daughters, Olivia, gave me this Hustle cup. She, for some reason, has a knack for getting me cups that I like. It's kind of fun. The one she gave me this year, I haven't even drank out of because I like it so much. I don't want to mess it up. All right. Lead generation. Next one. Lack of follow through or even starting. Okay. Let's go back to the original conversation I was talking about with the compelling future. If you're not going to follow through and you're not going to get started, some people would call that being lazy. Laziness is not really the issue. I'll tell you what the issue is. It's a lack of a compelling future. You don't have a reason to bother. If you don't have a reason to bother, you're not going to take the action. So if you're not going to follow through, I'm telling you, that's what it is. You have this lack of confidence. That's another word we haven't used today. Let's cover that one. I cover that one in the Qualified Champion too. QualifiedChampion.com. Go for it. Go get your copy. Confidence. Let's take the word confidence. It's broken down into two words if you break it down. Confidence. With, the word con means with. Have you ever ordered something at the Mexican restaurant? Con queso, that means with cheese, right? Con. And then fidence or fidelis means faith or trust. With trust. So if I'm looking for confidence or self-confidence, I'm looking for trust with myself. How do you do that? How do you build trust in yourself? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you that it's probably going to come from doing the small things. Follow through on the commitments of your small stuff. So if you feel like you don't feel confident with yourself, give yourself compelling moments where you follow through on your own personal commitments. Maybe you say, I'm going to drink 4 cups of water today because I only drank 0 yesterday. I'm going to drink 4 today. Okay, follow through on that. Do it again. Or maybe like for me, I wanted to get up a little bit earlier. So I set my alarm 15 minutes earlier. started getting into the rhythm of getting myself up 15 minutes earlier. And you suddenly start feeling more confident about yourself, because when I say I'm going to do something, I follow through myself. But if you start lowering your own standards, you're going to find you're going to start lowering the standards for other people. And you'll make excuses for other people too. That's right. So if you're looking to follow through and get things started, you're going to have to first build some confidence in yourself. And that's how to do it. Little things. Quit trying to do big things. I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year. I'm going to go to the gym every day, work out for an hour. Get started and follow through on the small micro commitments, and then build from there. That's why coaching, by the way, works really, really well, because a lot of people I'll sit down and talk to, we work on small stuff. I've got somebody right now has a huge level of potential with real estate, and the only homework he has, literally, these are people that pay quite a bit per hour to have conversations with me. His homework this week is completely focused on one thing: scheduling 2 time blocks to do lead generation for an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's it. I know for a fact if I can help him maintain that accountability, meaning he's able to account that he's done that, oh yeah, you'll get the results. Lack of follow through and even getting started is, in fact, excuse me, that's from building confidence in yourself. All right, difficult conversations. I think when somebody says I would have difficult conversations, that, okay, hey, I want to double my results, but it's really going to come down to having difficult conversations, and I'm afraid of having difficult conversations. Well, let me give you another resource for that. Let's see, right here. There's a ton of them, but this one's a good one. This one I was introduced to when I was at Keller Williams. So, Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. Look her up. She actually has a TED Talk that's really good. Susan Scott, Fierce Conversations. That'll give you the nuts and bolts. But here's what I want you to think about. Remember we talked about dependent, independent, and interdependent? More than likely, that's the challenge with those hardcore conversations. And I recognize that sometimes you're going to need all the support you can get to have a difficult conversation to move forward. I've got people right now I know of, one of my clients and one of their assistants, they're going through a divorce. It was a difficult conversation that they needed to have to move their lives forward, right? One started a year before the other one did with their own divorces. But the challenge of having a difficult conversation to move forward is a reality. You're not going to do it unless you actually can have a level of confidence and independence that you can, in fact, step up and do what you want to get done. So difficult conversations really comes back to that same rejection conversation. What does it mean? What does it mean? Where's your focus? All right, those are principles we talk about in our core process that you can go get at qualifiedchampion.com. All right, I don't even know what number it is, but the next one is believing in myself. We've covered that. If you've gotten this far, we've already covered it. How to believe in yourself, you do that through exercises I already covered. So I'm going to move on. This one I love, this next one, because a lot of people don't even think about this, but it's in fact one of the big reasons why people don't grow and don't do more, okay? Being able, listen to this carefully, being able to manage success, stress, time, and the process to attract more clients. Now that's a lot of information. But here's the truth. I labeled it opportunity management. Truth is you start going with your business and your life and things start going really, really well, you begin to have this sense of, oh no, how am I going to handle all this new business? I don't think I can handle it all. I got a guy right now. It's a builder. This young man is having a hard time getting back to me. We play phone tag every so often. I can't get him to call me back. He's too busy all the time. He's working all kind of crazy hours, just ridiculous hours and they want to sell 15 in a quarter, right? 15 houses, want to build 15. That's their goal. Well, that's as far as I've gotten. But here's what I'm going to bet you. When I sit down and have a conversation with these people, it's not about selling 15. the reason they're probably not selling 15 is because they can't even handle what they have. The whole thing is going to fall apart if they have too much. So it's a very realistic statement for someone to tell me that one of the reasons why they're struggling, or why they would struggle if they were looking to double their results, is because they don't know how to handle the increased business. And this is where we have to start doing a little future pacing, meaning, okay, your business is twice as big. I did this with one of the insurance agencies. Hey, if you were a $10 million agency, which means they were practically doubled, what would have to change around here? Oh, a lot would have to change, right? Actually, my favorite story where that's concerned, I did this with someone who, it was a real estate agent, and I sat down and did an evaluation is what we call it. And I said, hey, what's your goal? I want to make 100,000. No problem. We can help you with that. So you want to make 100,000. What have you been doing? He says, well, and he tells me his numbers. His 3-year average was like 83 or 86,000. I said, what do you think is keeping you from 100,000? His answer was, I don't know, Spencer. That's why I'm here with you. Touche. Okay, I got it. So has your goal always been 100? He said, yes. All right, fine. So what we did was we systematically helped him set a goal. Actually, we moved the goal to 150,000. And I asked him, I said, what would have to change if you were going to do 150? That simple process of shifting his mind, it's a point of focus conversation, shifting his mind into a bigger place, it forced him to start thinking about all the things that had to happen in between. Now that year, he didn't actually make 150,000. He made 134. Now it's only coincidence, I've said this over and over to people, only a coincidence that we raised the goal by 50,000, that he made almost exactly 50 more thousand. The point of that whole story is about a point of focus. Where is your focus? So if you're looking to manage the success, the place to start is to act as if you're already up there. What would that $150,000 earner, what would their life look like? What would their business look like? What needs to be brought in? And that creates a whole new level of response. So we do this with our conditioning process in our core process. So when you download the report from qualifiedchampion.com, the 32-page thing, the exercises there, when it talks about conditioning, that's what we're doing. We're driving the process in your head to future pace you enough to where all of a sudden your mind kicks back with, oh, well, we got to work on this, we got to get that done. Because your mind's going to do one of two things. Anytime it's posed with new information, it's going to either say how to get there or what's in the way. Fair enough? So that's the challenge. So if you're looking to get better at managing the success, start with that. Go bigger mentally. Like what would have to change? How do I make that happen? Don't think for a second you're going to make it all happen today, but it will give you some specific distinctions and things that may need to be adjusted so that you can manage it at a higher level. Another piece of advice I'd give you too, and that's one of the reasons why we do masterminds, get around other people that are having a high level of success and find out the distinctions and small things they're doing so that you can also emulate and or model what they do. That's another thing that we talk about in our core process over at qualifiedchampion.com. All right. Then the last one's making the move to full-time. This particular person was going full-time real estate, and this applies to anyone who's actually looking to do full-time, just jump from a 9-to-5 career and into a business scenario. I'm going to speak from experience because, frankly, those plans don't always go as you plan for them. Matter of fact, I actually had this very experience in 2018, and I am paying a terrible price for not doing it this way. Okay, so I'm going to share. Let me point this out to you. First thing you want to do is make sure that whatever it is you're going to get into has a plan behind it that's going to actually generate income right off the bat. It would be best if you could actually set it up to where it already is making you income. Second, depending upon the industry you're looking to get into, I would tell you need a reserve. And by reserve, It depends on the type of industry. So like with real estate people, honestly, it should be about a 6-month reserve. And the reason I tell you that is because I've had multiple top performers come into the business brand new, get into it, and almost every one of my top performers, the ones that came out of the gate and did somewhere between 30 and 40 deals in their first year or more, they were always people that, their fastest run at a transaction usually was in the range of 3 to 4 months. So if that's the case, understand you're not making any money until then. So you need about 6 months worth of reserve. Now, if you're, again, this is very specific to the individual. Other industries may not take that long. So consider that. Set yourself up a reserve and make sure that it's far enough out. Well, I think the challenge for most people is I don't want to wait that long. It's going to take me forever to come up with that kind of reserve. Well, there's a couple things you could do. One of them, you could also, number one, cut back your expenses. Sell stuff. Get rid of it. Drop your expenses as low as you can so that so if you were originally, maybe your monthly expenses aren't but $3,000, or they were originally $5,000, you dropped a bunch of stuff and now you're at $3,000. If the $3,000 is going to help you survive every month, then now you only have to have for 6 months, you need $18,000. Versus if it was $5,000, you would have to have $30,000. You following that? So the truth is, try to figure out a way to drop your monthly expenses. The other thing you can do is if you're working a 9 to 5, more than likely you can work a second job. It's up to you. If you can make money in whatever new career you want to get into and you can do it part-time or on the side, that's fine. But you may want to go get another job where you can get money and work towards that $18,000, that $22,000, that whatever that number is for you. And it might not take but just a 3-month amount in reserves, but have the reserves. That's important if you're looking to make that move. I think the biggest reason why people don't actually do it, though, is they don't have the compelling future and they haven't done almost all these things that we've talked about for the last hour. So we've been going for 57 minutes. It's been a very long conversation, and yet we covered 18 separate stories as to why people think they're not going to get where they want to be. You can. So I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to ask you, go right now on your web browser and type in qualifiedchampion.com. Type it in. First name. Type in your email address. I'm not going to hassle you. We will send you a link. Go download the 32-page program. Read it. Do the instructions as it tells you, and you'll get a lot of information out of that. And if you're so inclined, apply for the mastermind. It is not for the faint of heart, and yet for the people that really want to get where they want to go, this is me unleashing everything you can imagine to help you get where you want to go. I have done it for almost 2 decades. I can do it with you. All right. Feel free, if you watch this later on and you're not actually live with me, you're more than welcome to, even after, if this is a recording, feel free to drop in comments, questions, statements, message me. You can email me as well. If you can find all our contact info over at spencercombs.com. But for now, qualifiedchampion.com. Anybody got anything for me before I get off? All right. Well, thank you, everyone that did come today. It's been an hour, so I'm going to let it go. Have a fantastic day. Keep well and keep moving forward.